consecutive layers.
No, I'm saying that if they bin, they would have to use the same width of binning between input and output.
Not really. So the fixed parameter here is the number of bins. So they use 100 bins, but the width of the bins changes. Actually, no, it doesn't change. So they use the same binning procedure because they pick just this one maximum ReLU value from all of their training, and they said, yes, okay, this will generate our binning procedure, and then they use that everywhere. So it's the same width of the bins.
The problem is you can show, I think, theoretically that in order for entropy to be meaningful, you would have to bin input and output with the same function, and then you can compare whether there's a increase or decrease in information or entropy decrease.
But the input is the output of the previous layer, so they do bin everything.
But do they use the same scale?
Yes. So
okay.
They do use the same scale because they pick one hidden value of all the training, all layers, and that just generates their binning for everything.
So the green is once and for all. They set the maximum, minimum.
Yeah.
And that's cast in stone in the plate everywhere.
Yes. And that was something the viewers weren't happy about.
Sorry, can you go up to one of the maybe this one. So on the straight line, let's say, on the left hand side. So the purple ones are the beginning of the training, I guess.
Yes, so it goes from here to here, so it just increases information.
Now this is something I would expect from training. On the other, because you start from no correlation whatsoever between
I actually say you shouldn't expect something like that.
I would expect that.
Because if you see your information with your input increasing all the time, that means that you are memorizing your input. That's not a good thing.
No, sure, but let's say the layer of the network, you initialize it randomly, so it has no correlation whatsoever either with the input or the output or the target.
Yeah.
And then as it trains, it learns to connect input and target, and the correlation of the layer, whatever layer you take with the input increases, and it also increases the correlation with the output. There's something I understand. What I don't understand also from last week is how did they get? I mean, they were starting with something like in the example from the last week, and I think some example there. You start from high correlations from the beginning.
With like the initial layers have high values for with the output. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is something I didn't understand last week, and I don't understand now.
Because you're not binning there.
This actually.
If you have bin, then it would probably become more meaningful.
This leads to the sort of the last part that I wanted to talk about today is this paper dedicated a page just to explain the noise assumption. And the reason why last week we saw that, the first layer, it knows kind of everything about the input and output. Like, it's just great, it's the best, just take that and use.
Yeah.
Why this is not right is that because the actual mutual information in the system is infinite, because the whole mapping is deterministic. We don't have noise anywhere. So the real thing is infinite mutual information. Why the information is infinite? Because hidden activity is continuous. So you can have infinite differential entropy. And if you know your inputs and then you deterministically apply them, then your conditional mutual information will be distributed as a delta function, and the integral of that is infinite. And they give a very good treatment of that in an appendix, which I think is also like as important as the paper is itself. Over here, so this is the mathematical formulation, and here they show that the real mutual information is in fact infinite, and if you make this discretization, then you actually end up with the maximum entropy in the discretized form. So you have 12 bits on the input, and then that can only go into another 12 bits, because you can just create information out of nowhere.
Exactly. So
yeah. So why did we see the input having, like, initial layers having so much information with the output? Is that because they were applying the same binning procedure to all the layers, even though the layers are different. And that's why a binning procedure that gives you a good vantage point on your penultimate layer might give you a completely different vantage point on your first layer. Because in effect, when you are binning, you're actually just adding noise. And that's why you are able to see something that's not trivial. So over here, the binning procedure is therefore crucial to obtaining a finite mutual information value, and it corresponds approximately to a model where noise enters the system after the calculation of h. That is h plus some epsilon, where epsilon is noise of fixed variance independent from h and x. So by putting your hidden activity values in these bins, you're creating something noisy, and that's the noise that generates you all these curvy mutual information, like all these curvy plots. Because in real life, everything, like infinite mutual information, the whole thing is deterministic. There's no stochasticity anywhere really after you sliced your data. And so these mutual information values are actually a product of the estimation. And therefore there should be a special treatment for how to estimate them by bringing the same level of noise everywhere. And that's the reason why we had these confusing things, because when you estimate the information of the first layer, you have a lot of bias but very little variance in your noise. But then in the last layer, you'll probably have a different setup where you have a lot of variance and little bias, and then that will give you some sensible image.
I was thinking about the problem because it seems that the methodology there is not really sound, right? Because you kind of assume a non-deterministic input that then gets translated, and of course when you make that argument you can say there's no loss of information.
Yeah.
So it is infinite mutual information. May I present how I would do something that might overcome this binning procedure without being so dependent on the choice of activation. Or we can do it afterwards as well. Depends on the people interested.
You can let the room. What time is?
It's 15 minutes.
Yeah, 15 minutes. That. Are there any questions? So because I think we discussed the paper.
Thank you.